The movie begins with a shot deep in space, where two massive celestial guardians, strange-looking creatures, float in the void. Suddenly, a tuft of fur falls from the sky, hitting one of the Guardian's companions and catching the attention of Taron Hawthorne. He fires at the Guardian, forcing it to flee. A captain aboard a spaceship also fires a shot, seemingly hitting Taron, but instead triggers an explosion in the ship, killing the captain. Years later on Earth, a girl riding a red motorcycle arrives at a diner to report an incident to her colleagues at the police station. Inside the diner, a man named Ahab is having a meal with Richard, showing her a map detailing the appearances and disappearances of Hawthorne. Ahab promises Richard a reward of 5G if she can capture the creature. Ahab receives a tip from an employee that soldiers are monitoring them and immediately suspects Richard of setting a trap. When they try to attack Richard, she successfully fights them off, steals the map, and exposes Ahab to a parasitic fungus that drives him mad. Returning to her ship, Richard reunites with her brother Owen and the rest of the crew. Before their departure, a new crew member named Lynn joins them as a mining escort. After setting their course, Owen introduces Lynn to the crew, starting with their pilot Largos, who is seen playing cards with Harrop Hawthorne. Once introductions are complete, Lynn retreats to his cabin to contact his base, the only ones aware that he joined Richard's crew to seek treatment for his chronic illness. During the call, his teammates brief him on the crew's dynamics to help him adjust. At their first stop, Harrop, Owen, and Hawthorne suit up and depart with their containers to capture a large mechanical animal called a clicker using a piece of rare mineral rock. One of the larger clickers escapes, prompting Owen to chase after it. However, a sudden flash of light disorients him, causing him to lose focus and collapse. The team works together to rescue him, and Owen awakens, shocked to see a massive beast called a Kelbaron emerge from the light, drifting majestically in space. Wasting no time, Owen attaches a tracker to the creature as the rest of the crew watches in awe. After floating near the ship for a few seconds, the Kelbaron vanishes in another flash of light. Though shaken by the encounter, the team successfully retrieves Owen unharmed. They plan to track the Kelbaron, but their hyperdrive system appears to malfunction. After the tense experience, the crew gathers to enjoy a meal prepared by their chef, Batali. During their conversation, Lynn reveals that 6 months ago, a signal intercepted near the edges of the outer galaxy hinted at a Kelbaron 5 times larger than normal. Lynn speculates that this could be related to Taron Hawthorne and suggests that their ship might have entered a region called White Space. Intrigued by the idea, Richard dismisses it, urging the crew to stay grounded in reality. Later, Harrop is caught in the storage room, having an intimate encounter with Largos, revealing an affair behind Batali's back. After this, Harrop visits the captain's quarters to question why they aren't pursuing the Kelbaron and instead plan to return home with minimal gains. Richard reveals her intention to get rid of Lynn. Meanwhile, Lynn sneaks out of his room, heads to the command center, and activates a security protocol, sending out a signal that exposes the presence of nearby ships. Alone in his cabin, Richard watches old footage of his father before his mysterious disappearance. Suddenly, alarms blare aboard the ship, signaling the approach of space pirates, commonly referred to as toggers. The crew quickly assembles and hides the women aboard for safety. Lynn courageously stood still, allowing the pirates to board the ship for negotiations. After boarding, the pirate captain initially spoke with Richard, but was soon distracted by Lynn. When he pulled out a gun during a search, the captain found a badge on Lynn, forcibly removed it. The pirates proceeded to raid the ship's food storage, taking everything and marking the ship so they could locate it in the future. They then departed. Once the situation was safe, Richard angrily ordered his crew to tie Lynn up and lock him in the brig until they could send him off. The crew convened to discuss their next steps after Lynn's unauthorized transmission had led to the sudden pirate attack. Richard presented them with 2 options: return home empty-handed, or continue pursuing Hawthorne. The team initially doubted the feasibility of hunting this mythical creature, as it could lead to further depletion of their resources. However, after an inspiring speech, the crew agreed to pursue and capture Hawthorne. After the team dispersed, Hawthorne approached Richard, warning him that they were hunting the same creature that had killed their father. Nevertheless, he promised to stand by Richard until the end. At Hawthorne's insistence, Owen confronted Lynn to uncover the reason for his secretive joining of the group. Lynn explained that he had been tracking Taron Hawthorne's lair with only one ship, Essex, successfully following it. Realizing what his brother had been up to, Owen found Richard in the control room and confronted him. Richard admitted that he had been chasing the creature responsible for their father's death, even if it meant sacrificing the crew's interests. Suddenly, the separated biological matter of a Chirobaron attached itself to the ship's window. Excited, Owen informed his brother that collecting the substance could compensate for their lost haul, allowing them to return home. Owen, Harrop, and Hawthorne hurriedly suited up to gather the precious material in space. During the process, they encountered the pirates again and discovered a hidden beacon that Richard had previously stashed in their cargo. The pirate captain and one of his subordinates began firing at the Essex as a diversion. Richard ordered his crew to return to the ship and prepare for a hyperspace jump. However, Harrop disobeyed orders, lingering for a few more seconds in an attempt to capture a clicker for food. Harrop yelled at Richard for attempting to abandon him, but Richard furiously pushed him aside, reminding him that he had disobeyed direct orders. In the ship's rear, the maintenance mechanic, Stubney, tried to clean off the biological residue from his spacesuit. A small insect-like creature crawled over his hand and pierced his skin, causing him to scream in pain. In the kitchen, Batali dissected a clicker and prepared a meal for the crew. Meanwhile, in the communal showers, Stubbs scratched his body furiously under the hot water, trying to rid himself of the insects burrowing into his skin. Looking at his arm in panic, he observed tiny creatures wriggling beneath his skin. In a storage closet, after discovering fabric scraps and realizing Harrop's deception, Batali confronted him in their room, revealing that she was 3 months pregnant. The news unsettled Harrop, making Batali realize that her boyfriend did not want their child. Richard visited Lin and revealed that the similarities between his ship and the patterns of Harong's ship were no coincidence. He told Lin that he now had a better opportunity, having marked the creature. Richard assured Lin that he wouldn't stop him from killing Harong alone in his quarters. Stubb began to lose his sanity as the insects consumed his brain. After hours of tinkering, Lin managed to unlock his door and attempted to sneak out, but he encountered Harrop, who tried to stop him. As the two engaged in hand-to-hand combat, Stubb was startled, which distracted Lin and allowed Harrop to strike him on the head. Harrop, hoping to persuade Richard to return home for the sake of his and Batali's unborn child, sabotaged their oxygen system. He then informed the captain of the issue, placing the blame on Lin, and the two locked the woman in a storage room. When Richard returned to the control room, he found Ragslin dozing off. Waking him up, Richard asked if he had discovered anything, and Ragslin pointed ahead to show a derelict ship drifting in space. They assumed it was another vessel searching for the mythical creature, Haolang. In the storage room, a massive clicker escaped from its cage and attempted to attack Lin. Before it could grab her, Richard opened the door and was horrified by what he saw. He quickly dragged Lin to the airlock with the creature in pursuit. Afterward, Owen told Richard they could no longer imprison Lin, which deeply frustrated Richard. He reluctantly assigned Owen responsibility for her. This led to a heated argument between the brothers about their father. Owen accused their father of abandoning them when their mother was ill, while Richard defended their father, claiming Owen never truly understood him. Ignoring orders, Owen signaled Haolang using a player beacon. Suddenly, Haolang appeared in a flash of light and began attacking the ship. They stabilized the vessel and prepared to capture the creature with a harpoon. Owen donned a spacesuit and ventured outside the ship. In the chaos, Richard commanded others to provide support while preparing to fire at the creature. Lin shut down the system, allowing the creature to attack Owen. The creature crushed him in his suit. Richard was devastated by his brother's death. Hawthorne shared a drink with him, offering comfort. In the supply room, Harrop convinced Ragslin to alter the ship's course for the sake of the unborn child, arguing that Richard's relentless pursuit would lead to everyone's demise. Richard informed Lin they needed to turn back due to the oxygen crisis, and that their missing engineer Stubb was the only one who could fix the problem. While searching for Stubb, they found parasitic organisms on the floor and realized their engineer had been infected. Richard ordered Lin to locate him while he dealt with the reappearing Haolang. When Lin found the infected Stubb attacking Batali, she decapitated him to save her. Meanwhile, Richard and Ragslin narrowly evaded the furious Haolang, which seemed intent on revenge. Ragslin, displaying skillful piloting, managed to guide them to safety, earning Richard's admiration. Hours later, Richard ventured outside the ship to divert the creature's attention while Hawthorne used the harpoon to strike it. At the same time, Lin discovered Stubb attacking Batali in the kitchen and decapitated him. In the control room, Hawthorne noticed Richard was in grave danger and decided to assist him. When Harrop attempted to stop Hawthorne, he was forced to eliminate him. Outside the ship, Richard bravely fought, but was ultimately swallowed by Haolang, just like his father. The creature then destroyed the ship, leaving Hawthorne as the sole survivor, drifting in space. Lin managed to escape into an indestructible pod moments before the ship exploded. As the vessel detonated, she entered the white void with her guardian. Days later, a ship investigating Owen's distress signal arrived at the scene and noticed a flash of light in the distance. They watched as a small pod emerged, with Lin safely inside.